Frequency is a little different. Frequency means basically the pitch. So if I'm speaking to you like this, that means my vocal cords are vibrating slower. Whereas if I'm speaking to you with a higher voice, that means there's a quicker vibration. That's what frequency is. Basically, if we want to draw it on a graph, this would mean, if that's your sound wave turned into a, if you want to see our sound wave better, sometimes we can turn it into transverse waves. It's not a transverse wave, don't forget this. Sound wave is a longitudinal wave, but if you want to observe it better, we can look at it pretending that that's your compressions, and the low points are your rarefactions. Remember, sound wave is not a transverse wave, but if we want to observe, instead of doing thousands of little dots, it's just easier to pretend that's your compression and that's your rarefaction. So if we want to observe a sound wave, pretending that it's a transverse wave, this would look like a low frequency voice when I speak like this. And this would look like a high frequency voice when I speak like this, because there's more vibrations in my voice, in my vocal cords. So that's the difference between low frequency and high frequency. So we've covered frequency. Pitch is basically the same thing. And amplitude means how loud you're speaking. So if you want to speak a bit louder, you have to increase the amplitude. So it's going to become like this. So amplitude is how much energy that sound has. Don't confuse amplitude with frequency. You can have low frequency but a strong voice, or you can have a high frequency, a higher frequency, and still have a strong voice. Sometimes you hear people screaming when they have a high frequency and they scream very loud. It's very annoying, so you don't want that person to scream. You want them to talk softly. Same thing with someone who's got a deep voice. You don't want them to talk loud, so you want them to decrease their amplitude. So we've covered the two types of waves, transverse and longitudinal. Transverse means the particles move up and down like this. Longitudinal means it's a push and pull method of sound transfer. Sound is longitudinal because there's a push and pull effect of air particles. By the way, if there's no air, there's no sound. Because if you've got, for example, if the sun's here and the earth is here, and there's an explosion on the sun, there's no air to carry on the vibrations. So what are you going to hear? You're not going to hear anything. So the next time you watch the movie Gravity, think about that. How are they hearing each other? It's a good question. I want you to think about that. We've covered echo, where there's a reflection of sound waves. Sonar, you can actually measure depth and how far away objects are using the echo technology. Frequency, how close the waves are together. High frequency, low frequency. And pitch is the same thing as frequency. Amplitude is how strong the voice is. Loudness is amplitude. That's just another way of saying amplitude.